Apex Legends is the type of game where on the surface it seems pretty simple. I mean, all you really have to do is aim and shoot, right? But there are a lot of microplays that go into Apex, and some of these things people aren't really aware of. So hello everyone, I'm your hostess with the mostest, 8 Second Gaming, and in today's video I'm going to be breaking down 5 tips to help you improve at Apex. And these tips are going to be covering a wide variety, ranging from beginner friendly to a little bit more in depth. But if you're the type of player who's looking to dive deep into very specific aspects of your game, you need to check out the GameLeap website right now. Over there, we have top level coaches creating tons of highly educational guides to help you improve at Apex. We do deep dives into legends, guns, mindsets, and even break down the playstyles of your favorite streamers so you can start playing a lot more like them. So if you want to start becoming an Apex god, click the link in description, pick yourself up a membership, or I'll unplug your phone while you're sleeping. Have fun dealing with that in the morning. But now let's dive right into the tips, and starting off with tip number 1, this is how to play low ground. A lot of people, including myself, will always tell you that taking high ground in situations is the best course of action in a fight. You're able to control a lot more of the fight that way. You can control the flow, you can control where teams can move to, where they peek you from, and so much more. You should always be looking to take high ground in fights, though there are times in Apex where taking high ground just isn't possible and you have to play from below a team. If this ever happens to you, you need to get yourself directly under that team as soon as you can. What this does is force them to make a decision. They either have to stall out the fight and wait for you to make a mistake, or they have to peek you, but that exposes them because they have to take wider angles to look straight down, or they have to drop onto you. All of these situations are bad for the team that's playing high ground, and here's why. If they have to stall out the fight and wait for you to make a mistake, then a bunch of things can happen. One being you don't make a mistake and are able to either get away or push onto them, or a new team can come in third party, making it so that both teams are at a loss and forced into awkward spots, or nothing happens and y'all just wasted a bunch of time. But now the next situation, if they have to overcommit and peek an angle to look directly down at you, they are opening themselves up to getting lasered by you or your team. And I'm sure we all know how weird it is to shoot someone when looking straight down in Apex. It's just not normal and it's janky. Or if they have to drop onto you, this is one that's a lot riskier because then you have to fight them head on. But there is an animation of them hitting the ground when they first fall. That gives you a brief opportunity to beam them and make it an unfair fight on their end. So yeah, high ground is king in fights and should always be taken when you can, but low ground isn't as bad as you may think when you're able to play the right spots and know what to look for. Now moving on to tip number 2, this is learning to bait a res. It's safe to say that teammates getting knocked in fights isn't a good thing, but most people seem to think that if a teammate is downed, they can't really be a lot of help. That's completely wrong. There is a lot of stuff a downed teammate can do. They can ping out enemies, they can give callouts, they can block doors for you, they can give you their knockdown shield to provide cover in a 1v1. But the most overlooked ways to use a teammate when they're down is a bait res. When teams get a knock on someone, they know that they have the advantage and they don't want to let that go to waste. And sometimes they use their numbers to peek different angles, but they don't really push. They just wait and the fight starts to get overly drawn out, and that risks third parties. You need to do something to make them slip up and become vulnerable. So what you want to do is start rezzing your downed teammate. This will play the sound cue and the enemy team won't want to let you finish that, so they will push you and be out of position to stop you, only to find out that you've stopped doing the res almost instantly and have your gun out ready to one clip them as they come to fight you. This will allow you to force enemy teams into uncomfortable spots and have them make mistakes. Just because a teammate is down, it doesn't mean that they're out of the fight. If you want to win fights, you have to be thinking of ways you can use your team even if they can't shoot back, and this is a perfect way. If you want to see how I use my teammates when they're down, come check out one of my streams sometime over on Twitch TV/8 Second Gaming. Diving right into tip number 3 though, this is going to be don't underestimate unnamed POIs in your ranked games. This is one that I see happen a lot when people are climbing through lower elos. They always want to drop in the middle of POIs that have tons of loot and fight off drop. Now, fighting off drop isn't a bad thing, but why not put the odds in your favor? There are a lot of different unnamed POIs that offer a good amount of loot to teams so you can get geared up to fight and easily third party a spot almost immediately after. Now, these spots won't get you geared up for endgame, but you aren't dropping there to get fully kitted. You go there to safely get some guns and then take whatever else you need off the people you kill in the bigger named spots. And don't worry, I'm not going to make you guess where these locations are, I'm not that mean. On Olympus, a good example is the little area in between Carrier and Oasis. This offers a good amount of loot and the option to go to Carrier or Oasis depending on what fighting you hear. You can even potentially get to Fight Night or Estates depending on how long the fights go. And because Kings Canyon is next split, let's get you set up for that one as well. The spot for this one is going to be just outside of Octane's Gauntlet. You can third party Gauntlet or use the balloon that's right there to go to Salvage, Market, or even Bunker. These have tons of options and great potential, all because you didn't ego a named spot and thought things through just a little bit more. But now let's move on to tip number 4, and that's stop being afraid to change your guns mid-game. Now guys, I have thousands of hours in this game. I've helped coach numerous amounts of people, and one thing that I see pop up all the time is players finding a good loadout at the start of the game and they run it for the rest of the match. Now most of the time this won't really matter, but there are certain guns that are good in early game that aren't as good in the later circles. These are mainly snipers and marksman rifles that I'm talking about here. In earlier parts of the game, they can be amazing. You can level up Evo shields, you can poke at teams to take away their heals, and possibly snag a few kills. But as teams get closer and closer together, they do lose effectiveness. If you wipe a team and have the chance to take their guns later in the game, do it. It's not worth chancing the rifles anymore. It is better to take that extra amount of time to swap ammo, attachments, and be more versatile for your team in fights. This is one that I've had to drill into a few people. They didn't like changing all that stuff mid-game, it felt weird for them to do. But once I had them doing it, they found way more success, and I'm willing to bet that you'll find that success as well. Versatility in Apex is huge, and you need to be able to adapt to situations on the fly. Changing your guns does help a lot with that. And now for tip number 5, this is going to be don't be afraid of early rings. This is one that happens even at high ranks. As the first ring is closing, people absolutely freak out and try to get in circle as fast as they possibly can, even if this means running headfirst at a team that is gatekeeping you. Up until about round 3 ring, the zone doesn't tick for that much damage. As long as you have a few health meds and some heat shields, you can tank the storm and be able to think things through just a little bit more. I've personally sat in zone for almost 2 whole rounds because a team was mirroring me and holding me out, and it was frustrating, but they played it very well. But I was able to sit in zone because I had heat shields and meds, and I was trying to think of a new plan every single time. I wasn't panicking. Zone isn't as scary as people think. You do have time to plan things out with your team if you're being held out. You don't have to overcommit because you think you're about to die. Calm down, take a deep breath, and just work things out. There are tons, and I mean tons of little things like these tips that will be helping you out in Apex. So I really hope you guys learned something new and enjoyed the video. If you did and want to stay up to date with even more Apex Legends tips, tricks, and news, do me a huge favor, smash that like and subscribe button and ring the bell to be notified when we post. Thank you all for watching. Once again, I'm 8 Second Gaming, and I will see you in the next one.